Hello again. Second news update for today, for 12th of December 2024. Now it's 10 past 5 Moscow time in the afternoon, and there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment. And I will start with this report from RT that Kremlin warns of response following Ukrainian attack using US-made ATACMS missiles. So Russia will respond to her latest attack on its territory using US-made ATACMS missiles. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has said Ukrainian forces fired 6 ATACMS missiles at the military airfield near the southern city of Taganrog on Wednesday. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, 2 of the missiles were shot down and the rest were diverted using electronic warfare. The fallen debris resulted in some injuries and minor damage to 2 buildings and several vehicles, the ministry said. When asked about Moscow's reaction to their attack on Thursday, Peskov said, and then quote, "I would like to remind you of their absolutely unambiguous and direct statement of the Russian Defense Ministry that was made yesterday, which clearly stated that a response will follow. The response will follow at the time and in the way that will be deemed appropriate." The spokesman added, "But it will definitely follow," said Peskov. So that's the official reaction of the Kremlin on recent long-range missile strike with ATACMS missiles that happened yesterday early morning. We will see. We will see, of course. I think definitely strong response is needed to deter Western ruling class. But if Russian retaliatory strike will be on some military or logistics infrastructure of the Kiev regime on Kiev-controlled territory, or let's say some energy facilities, or even empty buildings of governmental institutions in Kiev or elsewhere, I don't think such a retaliatory strike will deter Western ruling class from further escalation, and I don't think a majority of my fellow citizens will disagree with me in this assumption. So if Moscow really plans to take action to make sure that Western ruling class, at least this time, will get the message, then I guess much stronger retaliatory steps will be needed than strikes on Kiev-controlled territory, let's say, that are taking place on a regular basis anyways. But, as you can see, dear friends, first the Russian Defense Ministry and now Kremlin is also noting that there will be retaliatory strike on that. And dear friends, as far as I understand, first time since the beginning of these long-range strikes deep into Russian territory by NATO military personnel, and let's be clear on that. Of course, these strikes are conducted by NATO troops. In case of ATACMS missiles, it's US military and intelligence services that are directly involved in preparation of this attack. And in case of, let's say, British Storm Shadow cruise missile, or in case of a French Scalp-EG cruise missile, if and when those missiles also will be used to strike deep into Russian territory, British and French militaries will be directly involved. And Russian leadership was very clear on that. But anyways, first time President-elect of US, Donald Trump, reacted on these long-range strikes. And let's go through this news here. So US President-elect Donald Trump has criticized Ukraine's strike deep into Russian territory using Western supplied weapons, saying that they only escalate the conflict between Kiev and Moscow. Trump made their statement on Thursday in an interview with the Time magazine, which named him their 2024 Person of the Year, which is of course separate news. I guess he deserved to be named the Person of the Year after what he went through to actually achieve support of majority in US, and he won not just by electoral college, but also he won popular support, as far as I understand, right? Which quite rarely happens. So yes, he stated that he's basically sees negatively these long-range strikes. Then we have a quote: I disagree very vehemently with their sending missiles hundreds of miles into Russia. Why are we doing that? He asked rhetorically. According to the president-elect, such attacks are just escalating this war and making it worse. That should not have been allowed to be done, and I think that is a very big mistake, he said, of strikes deep into Russia's internationally recognized territory. Trump returned to the issue later in an interview, saying that the most dangerous thing right now is the fact that Ukrainian leader Vladimir Zelensky has decided, with the approval of, I assume, the president Joe Biden, to start shooting missiles into Russia. I think that is a major escalation. I think it is a foolish decision, he stressed, and quite adequate statements here from Biden, I should say, and the majority of our community probably will agree with me on that. Although, by the way, this is an escalation not just between Kiev and Moscow, these long-range strikes deep into Russian territory, and he missed that point to be highlighted in his interview. This is a major escalation between NATO and Russia, right? Between US and Russia, UK and Russia, potentially France and Russia, when and if French Scalp PGs will be launched, right? And Russian leadership was very clear that if such attacks will take place, Moscow will consider military assets of the countries that will participate in these strikes as a legit target. And there are some people, by the way, many people expect that Russia will follow through these statements and will take action against military assets of US and UK in Europe, in Middle East, elsewhere. Plenty of those assets, right, that can be neutralized as a warning shot, basically, by Moscow. Although me personally, I don't think Russia will take action against US military assets or British military assets or French military assets, for that matter. We will see. Today I will have a new episode. I will publish new episode on my Patreon and Boosty on topic of these long-range strikes, how Russia may respond, what these statements, what is my take on these statements of Trump, and I have something to say on that. And hopefully our community on Patreon and Boosty will find this new episode of News of the Day, or the another name for this program is working name is Over the Horizon. We will see. And dear friends, if you like my work, if you want to support, or if you want to have access to more news from Russia and more commentary, you're more than welcome to join our communities on Patreon. That will be a great help, of course. So yes, interesting statements from Trump, that's for sure. RIA Novosti, meanwhile, reports that according to Russian Defense Ministry, Russian armed forces establish full control over their Novo-Ivanovka settlement in the Kursk salient area. Cleaning operation is finished, and this village is fully liberated from invading force of Kiev regime and the NATO mercenaries. Also, dear friends, we have this report from TASS news agency, which is also based on Defense Ministry statement, that Russian armed forces liberated settlement of Zarya in Donetsk People's Republic. Significant progress of the Russian armed forces, although, of course, Russian armed forces improving their positions all along the front line, not just in zone of special military operation, but also in the Kursk salient area, where counter-terrorist operation is conducted. We have also this report from RT that Moscow slums moves to prepare Kiev for a NATO accession. Plans to prepare Kiev for NATO membership announced by the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE, special envoy to Ukraine will further deepen divisions. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova has warned the diplomat was speaking after the OSCE's Peter Meris stated in an interview with the Izvestia newspaper that he was working to help Ukraine join the US-led military bloc as well as the EU. And then quote, I will not send them F-16s, Abrams tanks or missiles, but I will prepare them for Ukraine's further future membership and the partnership in the EU and NATO. These are my tasks, Meris stated during that interview. In a statement on her official Telegram channel on Thursday, Zakharova slammed Meris' plans, suggesting that his comments were just as absurd as if an ecologist said that he would dump oil refinery waste into the sea and firefighter promised to not stop fires. I think the news contains the whole essence of what the OSCE has become, Zakharova wrote, arguing that the organization, which was once based on the immutable rule of consensus, is now completely ignoring the opinions of Russia and Belarus. Regarding the Maris, Zakharova stated that this quasi-representative of the OSCE is not engaged in harmonizing relations between the organization's member states, but is deepening the split in the European space and acting in their interests of militaristic bloc structures, which do not include even half of their OSCE member states. And this is true, by the way. This is true, and that's why I was questioning decision of Russian leadership to participate in OSCE's summit that took place just about a week ago in Malta. That was, I believe, when Maltese leadership canceled the visa for Maria Zakharova, for example. Lavrov participated in that meeting, although it is clear, and it was clear, that this organization is no longer can be seen as an institution which is focused on security and cooperation in Europe. This institution is a clearly tool in the hands of Western ruling class, tool that is weaponized against Russia, against Belarus, and will be weaponized against every other country if leadership of those countries will not obey whatever orders they will or might receive from Western ruling class, right? So, I agree with Zakharova in her assessment of this organization. Russia should completely ignore these quasi-institutions, by the way, in my personal opinion, because it's just waste of time, right? Anyways, let's continue. We have this interesting news that Trump invites Chinese leader Xi Jinping to his inauguration. So US President-elect Donald Trump has invited Chinese President Xi Jinping to attend his inauguration on January 20, CBS News reported on Wednesday. The offer was made in early November, shortly after Trump's election victory. Multiple sources told the media outlet. It remains unclear whether Xi Jinping has accepted this invitation. In a recent NBC News interview, Trump said he got along very well with Xi and that they had communicated the previous week. Interesting move. Everyone knows that Trump and his team is, quite hawkish towards China, right? To say the least, right? They clearly see China as a major competitor, major opposition force, let's say this way, diplomatically. And therefore, it is interesting move that even though everybody expects that once in office, Trump and his administration will start escalating with China almost straight away, he still invited Xi Jinping to his inauguration. I don't think Xi Jinping will accept this. Probably someone from Chinese embassy will participate. Maybe Chinese leadership will send some delegations from Beijing under, let's say, leadership of foreign minister or something. But I don't think Xi Jinping, who probably understands perfectly well that storm is about to begin in relationships between China and US. I don't think he will participate in inauguration. Although who knows? Time will tell. In any case, it will be better if Trump and Xi Jinping will talk with each other and their administrations, right? To avoid potential hot state of confrontation between the sides. Anyways, let's continue. And well, to stay on topic of China, TASS News Agency and all the other media outlets here in Russia reporting today that a deputy chairman of the Russian Security Council is visiting China with a two-day trip, and he already had meetings with a number of high-ranking officials in China, including Xi Jinping. Many topics that two sides most likely discuss. First of all, bilateral relationships and security concerns that Russia and China have, further cooperation of the countries in terms of security, in terms of military cooperation, economical cooperation, and so on. And by the way, this is an important development because Medvedev, as I already said, even though he was president once, right now he is deputy chairman of the Security Council, right? And Xi Jinping, even though ranks of Medvedev and Xi Jinping are different right now, Xi Jinping is the leader of the country. He find the time to meet with Medvedev, right? And this is important. This is important because I think this clearly demonstrates that probably Medvedev is a figure who might become a next president of Russia again. He was once president, and after current presidential term of Vladimir Putin expires, I think he may be the next. And Beijing recognizes that there is such possibility, and that's why I think Xi Jinping personally met with Medvedev, not just other high-ranking officials, but Xi Jinping himself find time for this meeting, I guess in his quite busy schedule, right? So that's important. That's my take, and at least maybe it's not important take, I don't know, but I think this development can be seen as an additional indicator that Medvedev may become Russian president once again. And if you ask me, dear friends, I think what might happen is that after some time, Vladimir Putin may appoint Medvedev as a prime minister. Then he might leave the office. And in that case, Medvedev will automatically become head of state, right? Until presidential elections will take place. And I have no doubts that if he will have Putin's support, he will receive support of majority here in Russia. Even if Putin will stay out of elections, out of politics, let's say, I guess Medvedev will still receive majority of votes, but with Putin's support, I mean, victory in elections will be guaranteed. That's for sure. So who knows, man? We will see. Also, dear friends, we have this information from Kommersant newspaper that head of Russian Navy, Alexander Moiseev, stated that Russia's strategical nuclear fleet is completely updated, which is a quite significant development, of course. Russia received quite a number of new generation of the nuclear submarines, nuclear carriers, nuclear missile carriers, and this is a big deal. This is a big deal because, let's say, Borei A-class latest nuclear submarines, they are beasts, right? They are most dangerous weapon systems that ever existed in this world, I guess. US also has Ohio class submarines that are also beasts, by the way. I mean, if you take into account weapons that these submarines are carrying, right? But you know, Borei A-class submarines are latest ones. They are new carriers. So yes, they are. As long as Russia has this nuclear triad, by the way, including nuclear submarines, of course, that will, you know, that generates additional security guarantees for sure. And well, enemies of Russia should know and always take in account that even single Borei class submarine can take out literally any country in this world. And Russia has not just one, and not just two, and not just three of those submarines, by the way. Russia has much more of them, and will have even more, right? So interesting, important news in my opinion, because of course nuclear triad is a main deterrence that Russia has when it comes to national security. Vzгляд newspaper is also reporting that well, Israeli Air Force conducted yet another sorties, yet another strikes against military, logistical, and whatever other targets they had in Syria, in Damascus, by the way, itself. And as I said earlier in the updates, I guess these strikes from Israeli Air Force will continue and potentially even intensify as long as there is any military warehouses left in Syria with the long-range weapons in it, and as long as there are any risks that somewhere there might be some planes left, or helicopters, or long-range artillery or stuff like that. So and the Israeli forces also targeting some research centers, I guess, in attempt to deny Syria in the future potential to, you know, to develop its own long-range weapon systems, for example. So yes, Israel continues these strikes. Also, we have this report that Israeli leadership stated that IDF will stay in newly occupied territories in Syria, in the borderlines of Syria, as long as necessary, before Israel will receive security guarantees, which means, by the way, that they will stay there probably indefinitely, because what security guarantees will be enough for Israel to withdraw its forces from anywhere, right? So therefore, I guess territories that have been occupied by IDF, Israeli forces, in last couple of days will stay under Israeli control, maybe forever, I don't know, and probably will be integrated into Israel as Golan Heights, also Syrian territory that is occupied by Israel for decades, already been integrated into Israel, right? Meanwhile, TASS news agency is reporting that situation around the Russian military base in Khmeimim is a calm. No direct risks, at least for now, to Russian military personnel and their equipment. Although, by the way, if you ask me, I think it's only a matter of time, and the Russian military bases, Russian militaries will most likely withdraw from Syria completely, and I guess process is already underway of this withdrawal. The situation in the settlements of Syrian province of Latakia near the air base of the Russian aerospace forces in Khmeimim is calm. This was reported to us by the local resident. The situation in the city is peaceful, the source said by phone. According to this source, the new authorities caught and imprisoned the looters, opened their hotlines in case of theft attempts, attacks, or insults. Okay, let's translate a little more. On December 9th, a TASS source reported that the armed opposition fully controls the Syrian province of Latakia, where Russian military bases are located. According to the source, armed groups entered the territory of Tartus and the Jabla when their opposition announced their overthrow of the Syrian president Bashar al-Assad. According to source, the radicals did not invade the territory of the Russian bases in Tartus and the Khmeimim. Yes, they did not invade because I guess Moscow had a conversation with Turkey, and some potentially strong warnings were given. If you remember, several days ago, Russian vessels, military vessels, and their aircraft conducted training exercises during which Kinjal missiles were launched, Onyx hypersonic missiles were launched, and I guess that was a message for Ankara that if Russian bases are attacked by these hordes of animals that are supported by Israel, US, UK, and Turkey, I'm talking about terrorists, of course. If those are hordes of animal terrorists would attack Russian bases, Russia will take out some strategical targets in Turkey, maybe, and therefore we did not see, at least for now, that these animals are attacking Russian bases. But situation in any case, I don't think is that calm as in this report. There is a risk, obviously, that should be taken seriously, and I think Russia will withdraw these forces, and most likely will downgrade their relationships with Syria as much as possible. Russia may not cut diplomatic ties with this terrorist regime there, at least for now, but level of relationships will be, of course, as low as possible, right? If any at all, because those are terrorists, right? And those terrorists should be exterminated. While the Western world, Western propaganda, Western public figures are applauding this terrorist this development that when terrorists overrun Syria, while Israeli leadership is happy about current development, in reality, what is happening is absolute disaster for Syrian people. Absolute disaster and tragedy, and just give it a couple of months, father. Just give it a couple of months, and everyone will realize scale of tragedy that had happened in Syria and will continue because these terrorists were supported by Israel, US, UK, and Turkey. That's how it is. So therefore, I don't think presence of Russian military bases in Syria can be safe. So therefore, I expect withdrawal. We will see. RT is also reporting that Russia overtakes France as a top wheat supplier to a North African country. Russia has overtaken France as the leading grain supplier to Morocco, RIA Novosti reported on Thursday, citing Russian Ruslan Hassanov, the director of the Moscow Center of Grain Quality Assurance. France had historically been the primary wheat exporter to the North African nation, whose domestic production has reportedly been hampered by the severe drought. Omar Yacoubi, president of the Moroccan National Federation of the Grain and Legume Traders, FNCL, has stated that the country needs to purchase about 5 million tons of cereals. Yacoubi told Reuters on the sidelines of the conference hosted by the French grain exporter Intercerealis in October that France lacks the necessary quantities to meet demand. He added that Russia's competitive edge has made it their market maker. The Russian Union of Grain Exporters and Producers announced last month that Moscow and Rabat had signed a memorandum of understanding to facilitate the export of Russian grain to the kingdom. According to figures reported by local outlet RUE20, Russian grain supplies to the former French colony between June and October totaled 1.9 million tons, while purchases from France were around 513,000 tons. Earlier record for June-August suggested that Morocco imported 1.5 million tons of soft wheat, with France as their primary supply, followed by Russia. So yes, Russia is overtaking France as a major supplier of wheat and to Morocco, and well, this process is going to continue, by the way. It's not just Morocco. Many other countries worldwide will, of course, focus their attention more and more on Russian agricultural capabilities, because it is Russia that is the main breadbasket of this world, and will become, as time goes by, will become a bigger and bigger player on a business of producing food for humanity, right? So I will end this update on this good news, good for Russia, by the way, anyways. Maybe not so for France, but definitely good news for Russia and Morocco. And so hopefully you will find this update interesting, informative and useful, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything, any topic. Today's first update was crushed basically by YouTube's algorithm. So maybe this video will do a little better with your help. So yes, if you can, please click that like button, leave some commentary, and share information about my channel or video itself with your friends on internet or on real life. And if you like my work, if you think I deserve to stay in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work and this project with donation or by subscribing to my Patreon page. All the links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a wonderful day and take care.